Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to True to Death, otherwise known as...
Fiquei para morrer.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm Anna.
My voice sounded far too serious there. I was like, I'm Sarah. Hi. Hello there. Now I sound strange. Anyway, Anna and I share our podcast with you, and our podcast deals with historical non-fiction stories from England and Portugal. I like to tell Anna non-fiction stories from English history, particularly true crime stories. And Anna, what do you like to tell me?
I like to tell you true crime Portuguese stories.
So we are a true crime podcast that covers two different nations. I think that's niche. I don't think I've heard that done before.
I think it's niche enough. I've heard separately done, but I've not heard of it done together. And we specify true crime because I think we not like, but we're very interested in murder specifically. But I think we need to branch out a bit sometimes because there's only so much I can find for Portugal. So it's all my fault. I'm so sorry.
Not at all. Not at all. I do believe that I knew what I signed up for. Anyway, speaking of true crime, I ventured into a bookshop today, one of our major book selling chains, and they do have a true crime section. And I was very excited when I saw this true crime section because I was like, oh, I wonder if they've got books on unsolved crimes. I can do some, used to do some research. And I was really, really, really disappointed. Really disappointed.
Were you let down?
Yeah.
Do they have very little?
They have a lot, but it's all about the same 2 or 3 people.
Yeah, well, that's why I said originally everyone does the same sort of few things, and I really wanted, because obviously Portuguese crimes are not going to be as well known as English crimes. I'm thinking like, Jack the Ripper, all of the well-known ones, Yorkshire Ripper. But with Portugal, they're just not going to be that well known. So I wanted... Yeah.
Go on, because I'm about to tell you something that's going to make you go, what the... Anyway.
Oh, dear. Yeah, I think what I wanted originally, and I think you'll agree with me, is like lesser known English crimes to sort of match the...
Yeah.
I want to, not anonymity, but like the lesser lesser spread Portuguese crimes.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, I hear that. Well, there were 5 books about Jack the Ripper.
Of course.
5. I was like, 5? Okay. 5
You'd
different
think
authors.
I'd be surprised, but I'm not. Like, I'm surprised there isn't more.
Well, that was all they had on display, in fairness.
Oh, fair.
Then again, your usual, not putting it bluntly, but your usual suspects. But what I found staggering is any of you who followed recent convictions, things like that, serial killers specifically speaking, will know of the very, very scary case of the neonatal nurse in Chester. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to mention her by name. I don't have to. Anybody who's heard all that, what I've just said, will know her name. There was already a book about her. And I was thinking, the woman was only convicted, a year ago?
Yeah. Unbelievable.
And already someone sat down, written a book, got it published, and it's out there for general public consumption. It's the speed of the minute a serial killer is convicted. Bam! Yep. But there was precious little else. And I thought, so basically, unless it's a famous case, it's not making it to the bookshelves, which that was sobering, I think is the word, sobering. But there is a tie-in with the case I'm about to present to you. because the victim at the center of this case was once accused of being a Jack the Ripper suspect. Now, I am not covering Jack the Ripper. Everybody else has covered Jack the Ripper. I've read a diary purporting to be from Jack the Ripper, which has since been proved a fake. We all
surprise.
we all know Ripper stories, but interestingly enough, this story came across my path because I was out with a friend of mine, and I'm just going to mention him straight away. Sorry, Alan, but there you are. And I was out with. Shout out to Alan. He's a very good author. And not nearly recognised enough. I say author and playwright. I think that's the best way to describe Alan. Anyway, I segued. I happened to mention that we were doing this podcast, and he said, "Oh, do you know about the woman from Lark Lane?" I was like, "What woman from Lark Lane?" And he just then went into a brief sort of description of a woman who was accused of murder and indicted, who lived in the Lark Lane, Egbert area of Liverpool.
Whoa.
And something rang bells, and I was like, I know her name. And he mentioned it, and he said, "Oh, her name was Florence Maybrick." And I went, "Oh yeah, of course I know her name." And he sort of went, "Well, how do you know her name?" And I went, "Because her husband was accused of being Jack the Ripper at one point." So he said, "Oh, I didn't know that." And that's kind of what then led me down this rabbit hole of looking up her crime rather than his crimes.
So interesting.
She had a story, I tell you. So I'm going to start from the very beginning. I think that's the very best place to start.
Absolutely, according to Julie Andrews.
Oh, I love Julie Andrews. I've got such Julie Andrews envy. What a voice.
Me too.
And she's pretty. Anyway, that was a segue in and of itself. Okay. Florence Maybrick. So Florence Maybrick was born in America in, I've got to do this in the accent because I can't not. Forgive me. But she was born in Mobile, Alabama on the 3rd of September, 1862. That's been referenced in Forrest Gump, and that's my best Forrest Gump accent going there. It's probably crap, but never mind.
Fair enough.
So Florence Maybrick's father, her original name was Chandler, and her father was a prominent banker and had at one point been mayor of the town. Sadly, though, he was dead by the time she was born, and her mother, Caroline, moved on and married a German baron when she was 10 years old. So already an interesting start to life.
Yeah, that's nice.
Well,
sounds like she's up there.
Well, she obviously was used to having the finer things, wasn't she?
Absolutely.
Yeah, if only. At 17, she decided to travel by ship to England. And whilst travelling, she met James Maybrick, a Liverpool cotton merchant who is 23 years older than her. So she's 17 and my man's 40.
Whoa.
So I know there was a lot of gossip on board the ship about her spending a lot of time in his company, which frankly, was quite scandalous back then. But it was kind of a thing.
We've certainly covered enough stories, I think, by now to even in our short length of podcast, we've covered enough stories of age gaps to know that it was a thing.
By your university age back then, if you're a woman, your whole purpose of further education was to find yourself a man.
Yeah.
So she was doing what was expected of her at the time. Interestingly enough, within a year of meeting him, and it's very, very funny because I've heard this referenced. There's fabled anecdotes and stories about back then about you go on board a ship and come back with a wife kind of thing. So clearly this was a trend. But yeah, within a year of them meeting in July 1881, they were married. So they were married in London, and that's kind of relevant considering that he was a Ripper suspect, but I digress.
Right.
They settled in the Aigburth area of Liverpool, and for all intents and purposes, they attended all the social gatherings. They appeared happy and quite sort of, in love with each other. However, Maybrick was a hypochondriac and a regular user. I'm quoting Wikipedia on this here because it's where I've got most of my sourcing from.
As
he was do. Wikipedia, font of all knowledge. He was a regular user of arsenic and patent medicines containing poisonous chemicals. So I just want to stress that, because back in those days, things like strychnine and arsenic were very much prescribed by doctors and legal in the correct doses.
Interesting.
So imagine someone saying to you, you got a bit of a headache. Here's 0.5 gram of arsenic. Just make sure that's all you take.
No
arsenic,
thanks.
if you please. Yeah.
Literally, make sure that's all you take or you might die.
Do you know what I mean? Damn, I want my insides to stay relatively. I mean, I say that I drink fizzy drinks, but
if I'm going to kill off, the same, Sarah. Not the same.
If I'm going to kill off my intestines, I'm doing it slowly. Just saying.
So, am I right in saying that this is after the Ripper murders?
They were married around the time of the Ripper murders. So if my Ripperology knowledge is correct, the Ripper murders took place around 1888. If my in fact, let's just. I'm pressing up my nerd glasses right now, just to make sure. But if 1888. Wikipedia says so it must be true.
Interesting. And they did you say they moved to Liverpool around then?
So they married in London and moved to Liverpool around then. So you're talking
interesting.
They married in 1881 and then moved to Liverpool, but he was obviously known for traveling back and forth because he was a merchant. That's what he did.
Right.
So that's all out there. He also was, I'm sorry to use this word, but my man was a bit of a hoe. What
man wasn't?
Wait for it. He had a number of mistresses. A number. That's what Wikipedia says. It doesn't say one or two.
Going back and forth, being a merchant and going back and forth, I'm not surprised. Did he have one in every stop?
One of them gave him 5 children.
Oh, God. He did have one in every stop. He was like, right, I'm going to your house. Now I'm going to your house. Now I'm going to your house. I've never known anything like it.
He must have really liked that one who gave him 5 children, because she bears a child and you go back. That was not the done thing back then. It was kind of like the minute woman was pregnant, you kicked her to the curb, son, and let her fend for herself.
It's one for every time he had to stop at her house on his way to on his way to and from London.
Morning, darling. I've left you a present. Yeah, no, I can't. I can't. Wow. Anyway, clearly, being careful wasn't his thing.
No.
So
it's just yes, darling, I'm on my way back to Liverpool, but I gotta make my stops.
Do I get away with saying the B word on this? Because technically it's a legal phrase, considering because my man sprouted bastards everywhere. Sorry, done it too late.
Well,
that's what they were.
If this is gonna go to YouTube, Scott will edit it, and for Spotify, I don't think it matters. So
that'll do.
You're good.
Well, that'll do. It's one strike, YouTube, one strike. Anyway, he had a number of mistresses, had children everywhere. She was not content with that and had several affairs of her own, including, and this is the interesting one, she had an affair with a local businessman, Alfred Brierley, or Brierley. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name. I'm going to say Brierley.
Okay.
However,
good on her.
Well, however, her husband, because people love to gossip, was told about this affair
Of course he was. And of course he didn't like it because I can cheat on you, but you're a woman, so you can't cheat on me.
Well, this is what happened as a result of him finding out. They had a huge, according to Wikipedia, violent row after he'd heard reports of her relationship with Brierly,
Ugh.
during which he assaulted her and announced his intention of seeking a divorce. The wish for divorce seemed mutual. He was like, right, I'm getting a divorce. And she went, yeah, go ahead,
Well, yeah,
fella.
after that. But it's great that he assaulted her first. My man couldn't have just been like, hey, I know I cheated on you, but I kind of have a problem with you cheating on me for some reason.
No, back then
So
you
I'm
beat your
gonna
woman first.
go. So I'm
Yeah,
gonna
no.
go, and I'm just gonna live my life. I mean, you
Yeah.
really should have just done that and just not gotten married, but okay.
The
Moving on.
problem with divorce back then is for women, it was quite often signaled
Yeah,
ruination.
it was the end of the world. Yeah,
Yeah.
literally.
For the husband, it meant nothing. You moved on. For the wife, divorce was, I mean, you were left pretty much like a recluse.
Yeah, even
Um,
your children weren't yours. It was they were the
yeah,
husband's property, so they would
yeah.
go with the husband.
So the fact that it seemed mutual, quote unquote, seemed mutual, sounds interesting to me already because you got to have brass to be able to, as a woman, stand up then and go, yep, don't let the door hit you on the way out, fella. Bye. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see where this goes. Um, on the 27th of April, 1889. So, for context, if we're bringing Jack back into this, the last murder happened in late 1888. I do believe it was early November, but fans, people quote me if I'm wrong, but I do believe it was
I mean,
early November 1888.
if anyone would know, you would. I feel like
I
despite its
did,
overplaying, I feel like you are or were very into it.
yeah, I was. So I went on a free Ripper walking tour once, and the poor bugger who was actually leading the tour, I was that nerd who was in the back when he's giving facts, and I'm pushing up my invisible glasses, going, "Well, actually," and so yeah. I mean, I don't know the complete ins and outs, but from my memory, I did. I was a ripperologist, an amateur ripperologist at one point in my life.
Very much so. But this
Oh
isn't
yeah,
about Ripper.
no,
He's not invited here. This is not
no.
about him. This is about a woman.
So I will mention his name only once more in context, but
Fair
that
enough.
comes later. On the 27th of April, 1889, James Maybrick fell ill, and it turned out Florence had administered a double dose of strychnine. Now, again, I come back to the point that strychnine and arsenic were recommended medicines back then, so long as they were prescribed in very, very small doses. So it's kind of one of those things that, yes, she gave him a double dose, but if I took a double dose of paracetamol to go, if theoretically someone took a double dose of paracetamol today, there's warnings about that,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
it's not the end of the world. You seek medical advice, you get help, XYZ. That was their attitude to arsenic and strychnine and other serious poisons back then.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. They played them down. They really did. Doctors treated James for acute dyspepsia, stomach condition, but unfortunately, his condition deteriorated. Then on the 8th of May, so this is 2 weeks after he first fell ill, Florence wrote a letter to her lover, Brierly. Unfortunately, this letter was intercepted by the family nanny, Alice Yap.
Oh, Jesus.
Alice hated Florence, as did many of the Maybricks, including Michael. Now, Michael was the oldest brother and head of the Maybrick family.
Interesting.
So I find it quite sad that already she's got enemies before woman's even supposedly purported to have done anything.
Well, I wonder
But
why Alice related to um
no, it's just their nanny.
So I wonder what was going on there then for her to be so adamantly against this woman. Unless she was just a horrible woman altogether, in which case fair enough. But yeah, it's also interesting that so they didn't get divorced then.
No,
in the end.
They did not.
It's
they
interesting that she was so okay with the divorce, and then suddenly that happens.
You know when you're trying to unpick it and you're going, oh,
yeah,
and then you unpick a bit more and it's like undoing the rubber bands on a rubber band ball.
Yeah, it's like, oh, what a shame that this happened, and you, instead of being a divorced woman, destitute, you're now a widow. Crazy that.
It does for this poor woman. It does get worse.
Oh,
so Alice had a habit of intercepting any letters that Florence wrote and passing them on to the other brothers in the family. But this letter that she wrote to Brierley, Alice handed to Edwin Maybrick. Edwin was one of James's brothers, and according to many sources, was also having an affair with Florence.
Oh my God.
So
everyone's having an affair with everybody.
It seems to be the thing, doesn't it?
I'm pretty sure Alice is also having an affair with James. So
I do not know. I do not. You know when you're like, God damn,
no,
like.
But I mean, for her to be so adamantly against Florence and intercepting the letters for them, either she's very well paid by the brothers specifically, or she's gotta be getting some.
Either that, or she's so quote unquote upstanding that she's seeing Florence having these affairs here, there, and everywhere, and considers it her moral duty to. Yeah, but men did that back then. I know.
This is exhausting. Carry on.
I'm telling you. So Edwin was also rumoured to be one of Florence's lovers. Alice hands Edwin this letter, and I'm going to throw in a bit of supposition here. This is guesswork. But I'm saying for many reasons we'll never know. You can imagine if he finds out about Brierley through this letter, the feeling of betrayal would have been immense. Hang on, I'm not the only one. I'm not special. You couldn't just number the reasons like jealousy.
I mean, you weren't even the first one. Your brother was. What do you mean, sir?
Do you know what I mean? You're like, okay, all right. Well, you're not. You don't even rank like first on the reserves list.
Exactly.
Like 2 or 3 down.
Your literal brother is married to her. So what gave you the idea that you were first on her list?
But this is what cracks me up, because she's married to his brother, fine. But if she was just like on the scale of men she's cheating with, like he didn't even come top there.
Yeah.
She's like, here's the one I'm signed up for life. Here's my reserves. Here's my just in cases, and you don't even rank top of them. Like that's yeah, wow.
Gotta be heartbreaking.
Edwin passed this letter straight on to Michael, who we all know hated Florence's guts. Okay. And immediately Michael ordered for Florence to be stripped of her title as mistress of the house and placed under house arrest. So things are looking bad for poor Florence here. The very next day, on the 9th of May, a nurse reported that Florence had tampered with a bottle of Valentine's meat juice. And I really need to know what Valentine's meat juice is right now.
Valentine's meat juice?
Valentine's meat juice. I
have so many thoughts. I'm not even sure how to voice them.
I'm Googling it right now, and the Wikipedia page on it is that long.
First of all, Valentine's meat juice sounds like a great gift for the 14th of February.
You know where my mind goes when it's talking about stuff like that.
And second of all, I mean, someone's gotta have the copyrights to that, right? Because that's gold.
I don't know. Valentine's meat juice. There's the Wikipedia page on it is so long that I'm not even going to bore you with like I'm no.
Is it made from meat?
I
What
don't know.
makes it Valentine's?
I
I have
genuinely.
so many questions.
So it apparently came from a museum. No, hang on, I'm getting it wrong. Hold on. Okay, hang on. In the early 21st century, the Valentine offers rotating exhibitions, walking tours, blah, 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 blah. It's a museum. Funds for the original museum artifacts came from wealth amassed selling Valentine's meat juice. But what is it?
Hold on.
A health tonic from beef juice.
Right, okay, beef specifically.
I can't.
That was
it's from
one of the questions. That was one of my questions is what meat is it made from?
They actually created
more specific?
A whole company around it called the Valentine Meat Juice Company. I do not want anybody's Valentine's meat juice. I'm so sorry, but no.
But
no.
why is it Valentine? Hold on. So I have a quote here from atlasobscura.com.
Okay.
And it says, I have been using your meat juice.
I can't. Get it together, Sarah. Get it together.
I have been using your meat juice on different cases in this hospital. One New York surgeon wrote to Valentine. So Valentine was a person. So Valentine's meat juice is because it was invented, presumably, or sold.
This does not help the filth that's running through my head right now. Valentine's meat juice produced by a man.
Valentine administered his tonic to Anne Maria. Yeah, I bet he did. And in the following days, watched as she began to recover. Okay.
I think we need viewer discretion. I think we need a listener discretion thing at the start of this. Due to the sensitive and disgusting topics being discussed in this podcast, viewer discretion, listener discretion, whatever the hell discretion is advised. Like what? Valentine's meat juice. So there you go.
Apparently, Florence... he came up with it in the 1870s. So about a decade before this happened.
And it made him millions.
Yes. And it made his wife... It cured his wife, apparently. Anne-Marie. Anne-Maria.
I'm sure Hugh Hefner said the same thing about his wives in a magazine. Anyway, no, I'm not going there. Anyway, come back to the story. Bring it back.
Right, so Valentine's meat juice, yes.
So, yes, on the 9th of May, 1889, Florence had been accused of tampering with a bottle of Valentine's meat juice that was later found to contain a half grain of arsenic. This is really important, this. She later testified that James had begged for it as a pick-me-up. He wanted her to put the arsenic in his drink as a pick-me-up. However, when they found the bottle, nothing had been consumed. So the bottle had never been drunk.
So it wasn't empty. It was
full,
but it was completely full.
It was full. So there's already a kind of that doesn't track.
Yeah.
If he was begging for it, why?
And
why
it
didn't
was
he
in
drink
his drink. Why is it?
Why didn't he drink? So he died on the 11th of May, 2 days later, and Florence was subsequently arrested on the charge of his murder. So I'm going to read a little bit more from Wikipedia here. So I'm quoting Wikipedia directly. His brothers, suspicious as to the cause of death, had his body examined. It was found to contain slight traces of arsenic, but not enough to be considered fatal. It is uncertain whether this was taken by Maybrick himself or administered by another person. So already,
but it wasn't,
we're not sure.
It wasn't considered fatal.
No.
So what actually killed him then?
Well, you would have to think the supposition would be the combination of strychnine that he'd had in that double dose plus the arsenic. But there is no real picture on that, obviously, because it was so long ago.
Yeah. It's just interesting that was the strychnine a large enough dose to be considered dangerous?
Does not refer to it here.
Interesting.
So it gets even more interesting and slightly confusing. She was then accused of using flypaper containing arsenic from a local chemist's shop, which was soaked in a bowl of water to strip the arsenic from it.
Right.
Sounds bad, doesn't it?
Yeah.
After an inquest held in a nearby hotel, she was charged with his murder, stood trial at St George's Hall, Liverpool, before Mr. Justice Stephen, where she was convicted and sentenced to death.
But could they proved that she did that with the paper?
No.
So it was just she was accused of it, but
Yes.
without any proof.
Yes.
I mean, why am I surprised? That's just
this is what makes this case independently famous in and of its own right, without any links to anything else. This case actually became famous in and of its own right. So her trial was reported in newspapers as being a miscarriage of justice, as the prosecution evidence was baffling. There were even papers written in the direct aftermath of this about the right of a criminal to have appeals, because appeals didn't really exist back then.
Interesting.
So this was one of many sort of cases in and around the time.
People could probably see that that they had no proof. Like, they literally, what they were accusing her of, which is like basically stripping the paper of its arsenic in order to poison her husband. Like that where's the paper? Did she buy the paper? Did someone see her stripping it of the arsenic? Like,
they blamed the prosecution evidence as being baffling, and after the verdict was read out, crowds shouted in favour of Florence, believing she was accused of a murder she had not committed. So, after public outcry, Henry Matthews, the Home Secretary, and Lord Chancellor Halsbury concluded that, quote unquote, the evidence clearly establishes that Mrs. Maybrick administered poison to her husband with intent to murder, but that there is ground for reasonable doubt whether the arsenic so administered was in fact the cause of his death. So they're basically saying, we think she'd intended to do it, but we can't prove it.
So not only can we not prove it, but we also can't prove that that's what killed him.
Yeah.
So whether or not she administered, which they also don't have proof of, it's not even the thing that killed him in the first place. So
there you go.
What is happening? What is she doing there?
And bear in mind, the woman's been sentenced to death for this. Like,
exactly. For both, no proof. She's been sentenced to death with no proof that she poisoned her, that she actually had the poison to begin with, but also no proof that the poison that was in him was even the thing that killed him.
Mm-hmm. The death sentence was then commuted to life imprisonment as a punishment for a crime for which she was never actually properly charged. That makes no sense to me. It says earlier that she was charged, but during the 1890s, new evidence was publicised by her supporters, but there was no possibility of an appeal, and the Home Office was not inclined to release her. So you can see this is a bit of a sickener, really. It goes on. The case became something of a cause célèbre. I love saying that because that's so French. And it has the French accents anyway. I'm going to do it again. The case became something of a cause célèbre and attracted considerable newspaper coverage on both sides of the Atlantic. Bear in mind, she's an American native. So, yeah, they're kicking off over there, and part of me doesn't blame them.
Yeah.
Arsenic was then regarded by some men as an aphrodisiac and a tonic.
My God.
And Maybrick had certainly taken it on a regular basis. I cannot...
So how could they even prove that it wasn't just self-administered?
Uh-huh. But I'm now coming back to him fathering 5 children with another woman and going, was it the arsenic?
I mean, Sarah, we have bigger questions. Like, for example, how did the
mine just went
poison?
right there.
How
Yeah.
did the poison not make him sterile? I
Well,
mean,
it's an aphrodisiac, apparently.
how come on, like
It's
it's
an
gonna do
aphrodisiac.
something to your business.
Well, apparently it did all the right things to your business until it killed you.
Yeah,
But there you
well,
go. I don't even know, like, an aphrodisiac. I thought there were many things arsenic was taken for back then. An aphrodisiac was not one of them. It's not on my bingo card. I did
I
not see
mean,
that one coming.
Sarah, I feel like anything can be an aphrodisiac if you try hard enough.
Compost, probably not. Just saying.
I bet if you try hard enough, you could make it.
Oh, I don't, because I'm now imagining a farmer going, oh, I love a bit of compost in the morning.
Exactly.
Oh,
See, I'm telling you.
And again, I come back to the.
I mean,
listener discretion is
advised. How many scenes are there in movies about people meeting up secretly in stables where all the manure is?
Fair.
You telling me that place don't stink?
Yeah, but you too. Never mind. I'm not actually going on with that. Okay. Okay. Back to the story.
I do have a relevant question, though. Well, not question, more of a statement. I mean, here's the thing: there are certainly enough cases of wives killing their husbands with poison, right? So, whether she did it or not, we just don't know. But the fact that they got her on nothing and still didn't get away on appeals is crazy.
It's insanity, but those were the times. It was just women had no rights, no defense. It's where things like this become even more like mind blowing in the worst ways. So basically, a city chemist confirmed that he had supplied Maybrick with large quantities of the poison over a lengthy period. So James was being given the poison on a regular given arsenic on a regular basis. And hang on, a search of their home, which was known as Battle Crease House, later turned up enough arsenic to kill at least 50 people.
Fucking hell.
Yep.
The man wanted to kill himself.
For the first time, Anna swore on this podcast rather than I did. Hey.
The man wanted to kill himself. What the hell is that?
Clearly that, or he was either wanting to be super, super horny. Just saying.
Those were under his name. Like the guy sold them to him.
Yep.
And they accused her of stripping a piece of paper out of arsenic when so much arsenic was in their house. She didn't need a fucking paper.
You can see it. You can picture the scene, can't you? Oh, and yes, Mrs. Maybrick actually procured 2 strips of arsenic flypaper, which she stripped to consume and then she just says, and then she just says, "But look over there, in that cupboard." And then the men are going, "Yeah, we stand corrected."
What the hell? What the hell would she need the paper for? She could have just gone to her husband's things.
50 G's of it over sitting in the kitchen cupboard. Like she
shoved it down his throat.
Yeah. She honestly, it beggars belief. It really does. Anyway.
You make no sense.
I know. Although her marriage was clearly over in all but name, Florence had little motive to murder her husband. The reason being, the financial provisions he'd made for her and his children in his will was nothing. It was paltry, by definition. And she'd have been far better off. No, she'd have been far better off with him alive, but legally separated from her, which was a thing back in the day. Separation rather than divorce. Many of her enemies believed that she'd poisoned him because he was about to divorce her. which in that society would have seen her ruined, as we've mentioned before. But even more interesting is the theory that she didn't want to lose custody of her children. And she apparently, according to this, loved them very much, which is quite sad. If that was her motivation, if she did it, which
I mean,
there's
she
no
lost them
proof.
anyway. Again, it makes no sense, especially
Yeah.
when you take it at face value that their idea is that knowing that her husband had plenty of arsenic in their cupboards. I mean, she
Yeah.
would have had access to them as his wife. She went to buy 2 strips of paper and used that to get arsenic.
Yep. Like, again, the fact that they're blindly ignoring the enough arsenic to kill
Logic.
50 people in the house to look at the couple of strips of fly paper.
Yep.
Anyway, the poor woman spent over 14 years in prison before finally being released in 1904. She lost her American citizenship and had to go back to America. She fled back to America and reapplied for it and got it there. Unfortunately, she couldn't escape her name, had to change it, moved to a completely different part of America. She moved to Connecticut. And she died alone and penniless in 1941, having spent most of her life in a squalid Connecticut house as a recluse with only her cats for company.
So she never even got to see her children again.
Nope. That's the bit that breaks me. That's the bit that makes me sad. Her neighbours, a few of her neighbours, uncovered her identity, but promised to keep it a secret, basically, as an act of charity. However, she died an old cat lady. And
well, don't we all aspire to do that, to be fair?
Hey, I love me my cats. I'm definitely more of a dog girl, but I love me. But
I have 2 and counting. We're only waiting to get a bigger house, so
there you go. So yeah, but she the fact that she ended up broke, like that poor woman,
and essentially alone. I mean, I hope her neighbors at least were like kind enough to spend time with her, but the fact that she didn't have family around her is just sad. How many years? It really is. How many years after she left prison?
So she left prison in 1904 and she died in 1941. So you're talking 37 years.
Yeah. That's a long time to be on your own without like
any company.
Creating a family for yourself.
Yeah. There is one positive and one silver lining in this cloud here.
All right.
She wrote her own book. So the book is called Mrs. Maybrick's Own Story, My Lost 15 Years. And it's actually available online. But if you want to be a hardcore fan and you want to go and look up an actual paper copy, there is a paper copy available in Liverpool libraries. So
nice.
Whether or not they let you put your hands on it, I don't know. But it would be something that would
check it out.
Something that would be interesting to check. Yeah,
it is. It sounds like a fascinating story.
It does. It does. I'm going to do one final tie-up. I did say I'd mention this later because what's interesting is I talked about those 5 books I saw at the bookshop today about her husband and his proposed accused legacy. And I mentioned this in reference to a 1992 book, which, to be fair, at the time I was 13, 14, round about that age. And a book was published which said it was a diary, and it was quote unquote James Maybrick's diary, and it made allegations. Basically, it was all but confessing that he was Jack the Ripper. Now, it has been since proven
Debunked.
to be fake. Yeah. And there's a lot of debate. He's still flagged as a suspect, but there's a lot of debate because there's not enough conclusive proof that the diary is real, and there's certain proof that just basically stands out and says, "Oh, hang on, this is fake." The reason I mention this is clearly I'm not the only person who was influenced by this book. And I'm making quite the sort of statement here because back in those days in 1992, politically, Liverpool was, it's open fact, Liverpool was targeted for decline. And this obviously didn't help in that respect, that suddenly a Liverpool merchant's being accused of being one of Britain's most notorious serial killers. But another person who was influenced by the same book spent 15 years of time doing research, a guy called Bruce Robinson. And in 2015, he published a book called Busting the Ripper, which then ignored pretty much everything in the diary.
Interesting.
And went on to say that Florence and James, so get this, were set up. That Florence was set up to take the fall for James's murder by none other than
Jack the
Michael
Ripper himself?
Maybrick.
Oh, I see.
Who then Robinson claims was Jack the Ripper himself.
Right.
So you know when you're like...
So that's why Michael hated them, not hated them, but that's why he was so against them, is because he just needed someone... He just needed someone to, like...
Patsies. But how does that all tie in? Like, you know when you're like, dude, how did you go from this fake diary to... And I might be supposing here, but like 2015, back in 2015, I'm not sure, again, people prove me wrong, tell me if I'm wrong, I'm happy to be wrong. I'm not sure if the diary had been proven a fake in 2015. It is now, it's well established now. But I don't know if the diary had been proven a fake in 2015. So I'm looking at it going, how did that guy...
But that's still a pretty daring assumption to go from like, oh, the like...
It's the brother of the guy.
It's actually the brother, and he was trying to frame his brother,
setting them up.
And basically, so what's the idea there? Is it that like he needed to accuse her of killing James?
To be fair,
James, like basically killing two birds with one stone, getting rid of her, and basically making James out to be Jack.
The jump in terms of framing, we might be making here, because what Wikipedia sort of references is that he claims that Michael killed James and set Florence up for James's murder. It doesn't go any further than that. Right. So it's the idea is that Michael's responsible for James's death and Florence was just in the way. But it then says he also thinks Michael was the Ripper.
Jack didn't kill men though.
But he killed women. Here's what I find fascinating. And this is where you can make, like, this guy's made such a leap that I'm looking at it going, I could make leap upon leap upon leap from this. I'm trying, I'm there. I then inferred a few seconds ago, I was like, so does this mean maybe James found Michael out and knew about it? Yeah. So or Michael had to silence him.
Michael found
James out. And Florence was just collateral damage.
And didn't want that on the family name, but because it does sound like Michael was kind of like the patriarch of the family, but
this is all based on the foundation that they're proper suspects, which, like I said, has since been debunked.
But then where does the diary come in? Because he was saying that, claiming
This
that the
is
diary was a fake, right?
so the diary. This is where I'm unclear. The diary has definitely been proven a fake.
Yeah,
In
but
fact, let me actually Google when the diary was proven a fake, because essentially the guy's written this book. It was published in 2015. So Robinson's published this book. It was published in 2015, and I don't know if he based any of it on the diary. So Jack the Ripper diary. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da.
but you'd think if he was writing something like that about that particular suspect, that he would have said either I'm drawing on this from the diary, or
Yeah,
like said the diary was a fake and it was put there by Michael as like a sort of distraction from blah blah blah. I
man,
don't
have I
know.
gone down a rabbit hole here? Because so we're going to leave the authenticity, because I'm reading, and again, this is the problem with a case as famous as the Rippers. It detracts from everything else around it. I'm reading a Wikipedia page here on that diary, and I'm just reading the page on that diary. And the man who discovered the diary in 1995, 3 years after it was published, swore that he wrote it. Then he
Interesting.
then he said his wife helped him. Then his wife argued that no, it's actually genuine. So there's a fog around this whole thing. If you look at them as suspects, there's a fog around this whole thing. What's important to remember, I suppose, really, and I'm saying this sort of speaking from the heart, is that whatever happened, Florence wound up being very serious collateral damage.
Yeah.
Very, very serious collateral damage. And that is inexcusable.
And for
So,
no reason at all either. Like,
no,
it's not like either Michael had very good friends in high places, if that was a setup from him, because it makes no sense why. Because people in the household could have something against her, right?
yeah,
But why would a court system be so against this woman with so little proof? Is it that scary that a woman might be in some sort of position of power over her husband? Like
in
when
1889,
he's
yeah,
sick,
yeah,
when he's sick,
yeah,
like I yeah, but like it's not like she wasn't really in a position of power over him. She was just
yeah.
he was the one wanting to get divorced. She agreed with it, but he
You
was the
forget
one wanting to get divorced.
the other element in this, which would have swayed a judge and would have swayed his mind, no matter how innocent she was, or she wasn't just a woman. She was a quote unquote foreigner.
Yeah, and an American at
And
that. Sorry to
so,
any American listeners, which
but
probably I don't know if we'll have any
hey,
anytime, but
I'm all in the, I'm all in the, like, for me, I look at it and I go, modernize. We see this with modernize, and we know that behavior is wrong, but we can't pretend it didn't happen. The
absolutely.
attitude towards foreigners
I
of
mean, it
any
still
ilk,
happened. It still happens.
yeah. But back then, I can imagine the judge would have looked at it and gone, "Here, she's his wife, and she's a foreigner. Here, yes, right, that's it. She's guilty." I could totally see in 1889 those two reasons being enough to incriminate somebody,
Yeah.
or downright judge them. So that's what, and the overriding factor, even though she came from money, she came from what they would call new money.
Yeah.
They
True.
were old money, old established money.
But it's interesting
So
because you'd think they'd want to get rid of her as opposed to keep her in a prison.
Well, isn't that one and the same thing back then? They did sentence her to death. So
True.
he sentenced her to death. It was only afterwards it was commuted.
Yeah, that it was reversed.
So look at it that way. He was trying to silence her. So
no, I meant like send her away to like back to America or something.
Again, she's in America. She's got a voice. She can go and speak to her people out there. Easier just to lock her in a prison or have her hanged. So, yeah, that's what you did with people you didn't really like back then. If you were judge, jury, and executioner kind of thing. I'm ranting. I do have a moral obligation just to say that for those of you who've listened to this and managed to get this far, if you are going to read any texts around the Maybricks and particularly the Ripper, I'm recommending a book I read 3 or 4 years ago called, it might be 6 or 7 years ago, called The Five. It's not about Jack. It's about the women. It's about Catherine Eddowes, Polly Ann Nichols, Mary Jane Kelly. It's about Liz Stride, and it's about Annie Chapman. It's about those 5 women and their lives before they were taken.
As it should be.
It was so comprehensive and so detailed and told me so much that it shifted my perspective entirely. And if you want to read about the Mayricks, you can access the Florence Maybrick, My Lost 15 Years. You can access her story and see what you think. It's available online. Have a look. Read the Wikipedia pages. They're very thorough, I have to say. But don't do what so many of us, even myself on occasion, tend to do, which is go down the Ripper rabbit hole.
I mean, that's the sensationalism of it, isn't it? It's like it's who is he? Because if he had been named and shamed, the case wouldn't have been as big as it got, most likely. I mean, it still would have been interesting, but it likely would have just been like another serial killer that killed. I mean, the fact that they were called prostitutes in order to like dismiss them as women, as humans. Is just anyway. We could go on that rabbit hole for a long, long time.
We really could. But The Five, I think it's by Hallie Rubenhold, if I remember right. Or read Florence's own story. Read Mrs. Maybrick's own story, My 15 Lost Years. Well worth a read. So, and on that note, I think I have absolutely exhausted this one. It's probably one of the most famous cases we'll cover, if not the most famous. So,
it's very, very interesting, and it's an interesting, not take, but an interesting angle on what is probably one of the most famous serial killer stories in the world, really. But yeah.
And a final quick thank you to Alan for telling me about the Lady of Lark Lane. It's much appreciated because, man, did this just unfold like a flower. So
we'll have to shout out with his permission. We'll have to shout out some of his works next time, so people can
100%,
can go and see them and read them.
I shall go and beg him for that presently. Anyway, that's us. That's True to Death, otherwise known as
Fiquei para Morrer.
And you've been listening to Anna and
Sarah.
I thought I'd mix things up there.
We did a swap. People are going to get confused.
If they're not already. Anyway.
If they're not already, that's very true.
Yeah, 100%. It's been fun. We shall speak to you again soon.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.